Hello and welcome to this interesting new collaboration between Chakra News and Gunners Shot. I'm joined, as always, by Lieutenant General PR Shankar. General Shankar, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are.
Oh, thanks a lot, Sandeep. Always nice to know. And just for the information of everyone, Sandeep is doing some intellectual activity in Mumbai. He's at a military fest, lit fest,
That's
and
right.
I'm sure he's having a great time discussing with great minds about what's happening all over the world. That's why he's picked this topic, complicated topic, interesting topic, and very consequential to India.
Very
All yours, Sandeep.
consequential to India, sir. And, I was just watching your discussion with the three generals, with the two other generals, of course, talking about the nuclear question that, the post Cold War scenario where every country now seems to be reaching for their nuclear weapons. And Trump has announced he's going to be testing. Russia has said that it will test almost immediately as soon as the United States does. And of course, China is there. We're going to be looking at what this means for the Indian subcontinent. You're faced with two nuclear armed adversaries with fast growing arsenals. And like you correctly pointed out, there's a fourth country here which we lose sight of, a nuclear armed country in the neighborhood. That's the United States. So, without much ado, sir, why is the world reaching for its nuclear weapons in 2025?
Yeah, that's a very good question because people have to reinvent themselves. A lot of things have changed. A lot of issues are thing, and CTBT is a relic, and you have to go back to probably something before that. But before I get ahead, I'd like to tell all viewers this is a continuation of what a discussion I had with General Harimohan Iyer and General Turshan Singh on P Guru's channel with Mr. Sri Iyer. There we worked out the basics, but I think now after 48 hours I myself evolved. Let me be very honest. So when Sandeep said let's talk of India, China, Pakistan focus, I said yeah, we'll talk of India, China, Pakistan focus, but there are other actors also in this region: Iran, Israel, and US, all nuclear, and we need to talk of them also. But before that, I think we need to understand the fundamentals of what this whole story is and where does it come from, and to talk, go ahead. I have a set of slides, Sandeep. If I'd request if you could put them on. Yeah. The first thing we need to understand the era of non nuclear strategic weapons and small non strategic nuclear weapons is on. Remember, understand this: non-nuclear strategic weapons, conventional, like what the Americans use, B-52s, what we are trying to develop, Agni 5, which Pakistan is worried about. And then we are looking at small non-strategic nuclear weapons. Are they tactical? No. Are they strategic in nature the way megaton bombs? No. We are looking at something different. This is ambiguous. We are in the area of deadly three-dimensional ambiguity. This ambiguity comes underwater, on ground, in space also. Look, let's get back to CTBT. Understand CTBT. What is it? It's Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. It bans all nuclear explosions for all things, for any purpose. It was adopted in 1996 but not entered into force. But there's a CTBT organization which carries out international monitoring, okay, of any nuclear explosion. It's got its well thing. The point is, CTBT was adopted, signed, everything, but not ratified. It's not ratified by China, Egypt, Iran, Israel, and United States. These are the ones which matter. The others who don't matter have ratified it. Non-signatories have also not, like India, North Korea, Pakistan, all nuclear nations, not touched it. Okay. But the precursor to this is the Partial Test Ban Treaty. It came into force in 1963. It was negotiated between USA, UK, and USSR. We are talking about a time when UK was still a superpower of some kind, right? At the end, dying end of its superpower status, right? It prohibited all weapon tests in atmosphere, outer space, and underwater. This is interesting to understand, and it allows underground testing, provided radioactive debris does not enter the atmosphere. Why am I talking of this? In the 60s, people transited from PTBT to CTBT. I think we are going back into this PTBT era, but in a different format. That's what we have to understand.
Right.
But that's the thing. Are we going back into this partial test ban treaty era?
Very
Very
interesting
important.
observations, General Shankar. Are we going back into the partial test ban treaty era of the pre-CTBT era, basically, where
Yeah.
a whole lot of countries have now said they want to test? The first person, of course, to set the ball rolling was President Donald Trump. He said
Yep.
he's going to test. Soon after that, the Russian Security Council met. President Putin has asked for this to be tested, and there is an island that all of you must Google and look for. It's called Novaya Zemlya. It's an island near the Arctic. That is where the Russian Federation has started drilling tunnels for their testing. It is going to happen very soon, from what we understand. That's what the Russian side basically is saying. They will test as soon as the United States test. There's no doubt about it. The minute they test, the Russians will follow suit.
Yeah.
China, of course, is ambiguous. General Shankar, they have not said anything about testing so far, but it's well to assume that they will start testing at some point.
It's not only they'll start testing. I think, like Mr. Trump said, that China, Russia, Pakistan, and even North Korea have already started testing.
Yes.
Right? I mean, let's not take Mr. Trump's idea lightly.
Right.
I mean, that will be the most foolish thing which we can do. Right? Because I think that was part of his strategic communication. Okay. So there is something, but I'll get back to this. Sandeep, later when we get ahead in the program, we'll discuss this partial test ban. Is
Right.
there a case for of course it will be modified. Now, in between all this, there's something called the Non-Proliferation Treaty. This also will come into play, understanding this. What does it do? It just prevents spread of nuclear weapons. It promotes nuclear energy for peaceful purposes. It pursues nuclear disarmament. Okay? It's managed by IEA and IAEA, right? International Atomic Energy Association. That's the one which verifies compliance. It was opened for signature in 1968, just after the PTBT in time. 63 PTBT, 68 NPT comes. Entered
Right.
into force before the CTBT in 1970, a good 15 years before that. In fact, 25 years before that. CTBT came into place in 95. And it was extended indefinitely in 1995 along with the CTBT. In CTBT came, NPT came indefinitely.
Right.
But 191 states have joined, but the original 5 nuclear weapon states, China, France, Russia, UK, and the US, they have not ratified it. Okay, that's the beauty. And 4 states, India, Israel, Pakistan, and North Korea, have not signed the treaty.
Yeah.
And these are nuclear states. The nuclear states are the ones who are not interested in non-proliferation. Now, I'll go through this. Understand, China is increasing its inventory. What is here is the number of nukes per each nuclear country, which is as of 2025. Okay, China is increasing its inventory. North Korea continues to test. It's not bothered about what's happening wherever. Okay, the last test it did in 2016-17, right? It did 6 tests so far after 2005 to 2016-17.
But they also
Russia,
shut down their weapon sites, sir. That the test site, Punggye-ri, that mountain in North Korea,
Yeah.
they blew up all the tunnels and they sealed it in, I think, 2018. One
Yeah,
year after.
2018. But they've done, and they might restart it. We don't know.
They can
Okay.
restart it.
Okay. And they're carrying out extensive missile firing.
Right.
We also know that. Russia has tested a nuclear powered missile and it has revoked the ratification of CTBT in 2013. They said
Right.
we'll not ratify it. And now they said we'll get out of CTBT. That's what Putin says today. But the interesting thing is nuclear powered missile. And you must ask me a question about this nuclear powered missile.
The Burevestnik.
Yeah, whatever it is. I mean, I can't get my head around to talking that thing, but we must discuss this.
Yes.
Okay. Pakistan needs an excuse to test. Let's be very clear. It's like, Pakistan is like a cat on a hot tin roof today.
Right. No, and
You would have
Shankar,
done,
you remember we discussed this Pakistan. We discussed it in a podcast in August, as far back as that, where we
yeah,
said Mir will test a nuclear weapon very soon.
yeah,
Uh, you should watch that podcast with General Ravi Shankar. I'm going to post that link there below
yeah,
the description, where we
yep.
discussed exactly this. So we've got a very detailed thing on this, going for Pakistan's rationale for testing.
Yeah, and there's a big rationale because if you see that video, we also explained why Pakistan couldn't respond through nuclear means on that day and why it will test. All these things are there, and that's something which we need to understand.
Right.
Then you look at it, you see, we have to understand most nuclear inventories are the designs are old. There's
All from the
miniaturization of
60s, 70s, 80s, the
70s.
pre-digital era, if you
Yeah.
can call it.
And the components itself have modernized and miniaturized. We are today looking at small nuclear systems like small nuclear reactors. You would look like small nuclear warheads. Why do you need megaton warheads? It makes no
Yeah.
sense. Why do you need thermonuclear devices? It makes no sense, right? Then you're looking at nuclear propulsion and cruise oblique underwater systems. The torpedo, nuclear torpedo, which Russia has designed.
Poseidon.
You look at a nuclear torpedo or a nuclear cruise missile, it can go to any length to wherever it wants to go. And if it has a nuclear warhead, that's dangerous. I mean, even if a nuclear torpedo or a nuclear cruise missile does not have a warhead, understand this. See, a nuclear cruise missile, say, is designed for 2,000 kilometers range,
Right.
right? But your target is only 200 kilometers. Okay, and it goes and crashes into the target, and it still got 800 kilometers worth of nuclear energy in it. That's a nuclear explosion.
Right.
So a nuclear missile, powered missile, propulsion missile is itself a weapon. And this is not already, this is something which they have already tested. So the test violation has taken place. That's why the issue of Russian test is very critical. Okay, they have got around it through this method.
Right.
Now, missile proliferation is rampant and changing. We every day, everyone talks today of missiles. Issue of firepower via guns and conventional missiles on. Everyone wants a missile. If everyone wants a missile, tomorrow everyone will want a nuke.
Yes.
Iran wants to desperately test. It doesn't matter what has happened. It's a matter of today, tomorrow, day after, they'll do it. Nations are testing on the sly. I go with what Donald Trump has said. Now, there are issues. The current nuclear system was put in place when USA was unipolar, and 90s they had the global or geopolitical heft to do that. Okay. Now the classification of nuclear and non-nuclear states is outdated. Nuclear states were those who were recognized by NPT. But what is the ground reality? It is completely different. You have four more states outside the classified nuclear states who are nuclear. I mean, the complete nuclear system is broken. The global political system is broken. Today,
Right.
are you in a position to implement something like NPT and CTBT? Everyone will say we'll not use megatons.
No,
We'll use
Shankar, I
small.
think that is the most important line that you've just said. The global political system is breaking down, and because nuclear weapons are essentially political weapons, that is the reason that every country now in the world is reaching for its nuclear weapons, because in this age of uncertainty, this political uncertainty, geopolitical uncertainty, that is when nuclear weapons are the most important currency.
Yep. I agree with you 100%, right? Actually, I made a point here. It is in this context that this Trump Xi meet is important. It has opened up a channel.
Right.
Whether we'll go to the logical end or not, we'll see. Okay, then there's a change and advance in technology. The moment this technology is changed, it will automatically fuel a tech race or a nuclear race, and this will be three-dimensional, like I mentioned earlier. Then there's the issue of non-nuclear strategic weapons and small non-strategic nuclear weapons. This is completely ambiguous. No one knows where we are heading. There's no international thinking about it. Everyone has his own views, okay, and everyone has his own geopolitical compulsion. This will have small space nuclear will increase stakes. Nuclearization of space, everyone talks. China has spoken of even a nuclear burst in space.
The EMP weapon.
Yeah, no, it's not EMP weapon.
It's a
Actual,
a nuclear.
right?
It will destroy all satellites basically.
Satellites. But then if you destroy a set of satellites, that's nuclear debris. It will
Right.
completely kill the your GPS communications. Yeah, whoa, you'll go back to Stone Age day after tomorrow if tomorrow it bursts.
You basically go back to pre 1945
Yeah. Okay.
era when there were no
So the
satellites.
stake, yeah, and stakes are high. Your communication systems are going to go blown. Your GPS, yeah, your complete airline industry depends on GPS
Right.
navigation. What about international navigation? All that will go for a toss. No one will be clear. See, the point is you burst a nuke in space or near space also, and say 20 satellites get affected. Okay, then but and they have debris. Others might be functioning, but you can't control this debris thereafter. You can get hit anywhere. Will you be able to even think of being dependent on any system? How robust will be any system to give you navigation, especially if you're doing so many flights? After all, just think Delhi shut down for yesterday if they had some glitch, and 800 flights were affected. 800 into 300, 200 people, you are looking at 16,000 people loafing around without direction, without anything. What if this happens is on a global scale? How many people will die if there's a snitch in this navigation system?
Right.
That's the thing. I mean, people will think, only when nuclear war happens. No, it can happen otherwise. Now, nuclear energy proliferation is there. Everyone wants nuclear energy, clean energy, yeah, but the byproduct of any nuclear reactor is fissile material. Okay, so if you have fissile material, you will go for more weapons and modern weapons. So that's another problem. India is in a very difficult situation. There are aspirational states like Iran, South Korea, Japan, Saudi Arabia. That's why I said, are we going into a PTBT era? We'll discuss this.
Right. Absolutely, sir. Now coming to India's thing, since you've set the stage.
Let me give me 2 minutes. I'll come to India
Sure.
and Pakistan, and we'll have a focus thing. Let me put it across, and then look. The first part I spoke. We are now looking at something called the instability paradigm that has to be revisited. Earlier, we thought that if there are between two nuclear nations, there'll be stability at the top.
Yeah.
Right, and at the bottom, nuclear weapons will stop wars. But the India-Pakistan scenario has completely upended that. We found that though stability was there for at the top, at the bottom there was instability and space for war. Now,
Right.
with the way things are going, even this will go. It will be instability. So that's a dangerous paradigm which we are getting into, and that relates to what you spoke of Pakistan. We have to
Right.
understand this. Pakistan will test. China will support it. Conventional war with Pakistan is not winnable. A decaying and unstable Pakistan is a constant threat to us. A broken Pakistan is full of uncertainty. If tomorrow Pakistan fractures, Op Sindoor is over. Let's not live in Op Sindoor era. I find a lot of politicians, even military people and even military leaders are talking of Op Sindoor. Time to stop talking of Op Sindoor and start looking ahead. Next time, Pak will be better prepared, and that's where they're going ahead. China will enhance its capability. It's expanding its nuclear arsenal at the fastest rate. Last year, they had only 500 weapons. This year, 600. And by 2030, they want to go to 1,000. And 1,000 with, MIRVs, multiple independent targeted re-entry vehicles. It actually force multiplies it into 3,000-4,000. So they will go somewhere at par with Russia and US. Okay. So they are a sophisticated system in contention with USA and Russia. They're going to outstrip us if you don't wake up. They will support Pakistan, we know it. And hence, we need to upgrade our own systems. Yeah, this was the last slide. I'm open to discussion.
So Jan Shankar, now you're
We
looking
can take it
at
off. We can take off the slides and talk.
the 2025 again, to re-emphasize to our viewers, is the first time possibly in the 21st century that we literally are talking about nuclear weapons, if not on a daily basis, then at least a weekly basis. And I'm going to take you back to the early 2010s, where people were actually talking about a world when they probably didn't need nuclear weapons. This was the post-Cold War era. But today, as General Shankar pointed, the political structures of the world itself are fracturing. There is a new tectonic shift in geopolitics, global geopolitics, and possibly that began with the Russia-Ukraine war. We can debate that. And that is the reason that we are seeing a lot of nuclear weapon related anxiety. States are reaching for their nuclear weapons. Those who don't have the nuclear weapons they want nuclear weapons. Those who have the nuclear weapons, they want to test their nuclear weapons. And the people who are sitting at the peak of nuclear weapon arsenals, like the United States and Russia, 1,500 warheads deployed each, they are fielding newer versions of their weapons that we'll discuss. Actually, the Russian new weapons that they have unveiled in the last couple of weeks. Actually, they've tested some very new significant system. But I want to start with the subcontinent, Jan Shankar, because it's of critical importance to us, because we are looking at, there are essentially two nuclear trijunctions in the world, and you're looking at three countries which are nuclear armed, which share boundaries with each other. There's the first one, of course, is North Korea, Russia, and China. The second one, and that's of more importance to us, is India, China, and Pakistan. Now, China and Pakistan have a collusive relationship. Pakistan's nuclear weapons is actually given to them by the Chinese. They, in the early 80s, this is the only documented instance of one country transferring highly enriched uranium bomb blueprints to another nation, making it a nuclear weapons power. And also, there's also speculation that the Chinese may have tested a nuclear weapon for Pakistan in the early 80s and given it to them. So this directly impacts India, because you have them sitting on our borders. They have a collusive relationship, and they have very fast growing nuclear arsenals. Pakistan has got about 170 odd weapons, and that's going to keep increasing. China, as General Shankar pointed out, might reach 1,000 nuclear weapons by the end of the next decade. I think 5 years they're going to hit about 1,000 weapons. What does this mean for us, General Shankar? Two nuclear armed states on our borders with a collusive relationship, nuclear armed, threatening India. Does India need to increase the size of its nuclear arsenal, diversify it, or resume testing, or all of the above?
All of the above. Let me put it very clearly. All of the above. Okay. Having said this, are we in a very bad situation? Not really. Let me also put it. Remember, the past 1.5 years, you carried out a whole series of missile testing.
Yeah.
Right. You have carried out you have a triad operational. I mean, let me put it. See, it's just not the nuclear weapon. You need a structure around it. You carried out, you have submarines, you have aircraft which can deliver nuclear weapons, and you have a communication system based on indigenous satellites. You see, that's a good part in place. We are not dependent on strategic communication for others. Okay, we have our own, and we have a fairly, I won't say very great, but we can focus our ISR through our indigenous satellite capability. We have that some capability. So you have the structure in place. In fact, your structure is fast expanding. The second part, you have the technology in terms of the capability to produce fissile material. You have the capability to handle fissile material. I think we are one of the few countries which are doing it. And luckily, that thorium cycle of ours is coming to a time where, maybe in the next decade, it'll take a decade, not before that. We will be, once the thorium cycle of us goes, we are in the getting into the third stage now, uh, shortly. Then you are not dependent on anyone for fissile material. That's important, mind you. Even now, we are not short of fissile material, right? Plus the capability like Agni 5 with MIRV, plus hypersonics, everything. So you put all this, your capability is huge. Can you upgrade it? You have to upgrade it. This is a constant thing. That's why that paradigm of non-nuclear capability and nuclear non-strategic capability is important. With this, I think this is the next stage of our thinking process in India, which we have to go through, and then define what kind of nuclear weapons you need, what kind of nuclear warheads you need. Okay, you have to complement your nuclear capability with your non-nuclear capability. They have to be complementary to each other, and that needs a macro policy. I don't think this is and that is why the business of theaterization is important. You know, the Air Force view that theaterization we don't need is myopic. It is strategically myopic. I'm making an open statement, and I think the Air Force chief is out of his back in this. He's only looking at it only from his own perspective. But look at this. This has changed the whole story, right? So, which means if you need a new kind of a nuclear arsenal, you need testing. How do you know with good, bad, or ugly, right? And so you need your own indigenous technology. Is your technology working or not? So I think we have no choice. It doesn't matter whether Pakistan tests or not. It doesn't matter with China. China is anyway doing what it wants, right? And in such a case, we need to do what we have to do. So I don't see any way out of this whole business of testing. If
We have to test. But you know,
we,
Janshan, I must add to this what you said. Dr. Chidambaram, R. Chidambaram, who was part of Pokhran 1 and of course he steered Pokhran 2, he gave his last interview to me in the media organization that I was in previously. And I asked him this very pointedly several times. He says, no, we don't need to test. I asked him, do you need to test because we need a new set of nuclear designs and all that? He says, no, we have adequate information, we have adequate data, and we can use that to design our new nukes. You believe that he could be diplomatic and not revealing, something?
look, I maybe it's born out of his conviction that because he's been so deeply involved with it that you
Yeah.
say, okay, I don't need it. I have all my designs, I have my technology. Now it's 24 years since we did the last nuclear test. Based on that, we can always do. But you're looking at miniaturization.
Right.
You're looking at a different uh, strategic and a non-strategic capability. How will you test it? How will you be sure? How will you convey it to the others? What is the strategic communication involved in this? Have we done enough cold testing, okay, to be clear that, okay, we don't need to test? If a country like USA says, I have to test, should you revisit the whole thing?
A country
Now,
with the USA that has tested over 1,000, has conducted almost 1,000 tests.
yeah, there's so many tests, and what's more important is they're upgrading their testing capabilities at Los Alamos
Right.
in the desert. And you see, the thing is that USA depends on UFO two, which is uranium fluoride. Yeah,
Hexafluoride.
UFO 6, uranium hexafluoride. It today imports uranium hexafluoride from Russia,
Russia.
incidentally. Okay,
Yes.
but now I understand from what I learned that they've started uh, rediscovering their own uranium mines. They closed it, right? They're doing all this preparation. We need to rethink. I mean, we don't have a choice.
Right.
I mean, okay, look at it from another point of view. You have a megaton warhead. Megaton warheads we know are not usable. So you take that megaton warhead, break down the fissile material, and make more new designs. That needs testing. One megaton warhead, I mean, I'm a thumb of rule, might give you 10 kiloton warheads, small nukes, which are more dangerous than the one big nuke, which is anyway not usable. Because then your political capability can be spread over multiple vectors, and your triad becomes stronger. So I think we are looking at a time when there is going to be a nuclear race. And China has shown the way. They're building silos. They're
Right.
building silos. They're building mobile systems. They're upgrading their PLARF. Of course, the good thing is that PLARF is in tremors because the number of their generals who've been sacked
Purges,
are,
the number of purges Xi Jinping has carried out.
yeah, right. But let's not count it out. Okay, so we have a life situation where your economy is growing and you want to be a
Yeah.
global power, you want to be a security provider. So you have to test, provided others test.
Right. So
As
you're
a
saying that,
responsible line,
yeah,
we need
if
to
the
understand.
US tests first, every other country will follow
We'll
suit.
test. And then there's no full stop. Where's the full stop or a semicolon or a colon?
Right.
We know that people today USA doesn't have the wherewithal, geopolitical wherewithal and the heft to stop this testing. They don't have the capability of even putting tariffs and enforcing it. I
Right.
mean, there's so many things which earlier with or sanctions or for that matter, you know, their global heft is less. China, you think its global heft is great? No, it is not. It also doesn't have that capability. Today, when you say multipolarity, it's not economies, it's not militaries, it's not everything. The components of military power has got no value, right? It's a political system, everything, all put together. A lot of equations have been, flattened out.
Absolutely. And, this is the first time in history, I'm fond of saying this, General Shankar, that it is the first time in history that the United States faces not one, but three nuclear armed adversaries, all of whom are pointing their weapons at the United States. There's Russia, of course, China, and North Korea.
No,
All three.
I agree. I don't agree with you. It's also Pakistan.
Pakistan is a potential because it doesn't have the delivery device yet, the
Look,
ICBM,
look,
which they believe
that's
to be developing.
but the threat is there.
The threat,
Why?
yes, it
6 months back or 8 months back, I remember an article where they said Pakistan is developing rocket
an
motor
ICBM.
capability.
Yes.
Okay, so don't rule it out. Yeah.
So Pakistan could be possibly the fourth country to target the United States and develop an ICBM. And the thumb rule, General Shankar, as we all know from our own experiences, that any country that develops an ICBM capable of targeting the United States becomes an enemy of the United States.
Yep.
And that is where
But
Pakistan, yeah.
That's a strange relationship. The enemy of the United States is sitting in its lap.
True. But so you're saying that India needs to test because we need to feel new types of devices. China's and Pakistan's arsenals are growing at a steady pace. Do you think that the Pakistanis will go in at some point? And this is a question I've asked some months back after we hit their nuclear weapon storage sites, or supposedly hit their nuclear weapon storage sites. We paralyzed their nuclear vectors. Their diet was paralyzed for a few hours on the 10th of May. Do you think they will go in for a second strike weapon, like a nuclear-powered submarine, or opt for keeping their weapons in some other country, a third country?
They have no choice. The military government of Pakistan has no choice. The military state of Pakistan has no choice but if they have to survive. Please remember, next year they're going to get the Hangar class of submarines from China.
Yeah.
Going to go
Right.
operational. Their AIP, air independent propulsion, that's half nuclear.
Right.
So and Asim Munir, we must be working overtime to get this capability in place. Okay, so you are looking at and it's decaying. Their economy is in a mess. Afghanistan is
Right.
in a mess. We know all that. But if this chap has to survive, he has to play the nuclear card at some level internally and externally. So he will develop. Now, having experienced what he did in Op Sindoor, or what happened to them in Op Sindoor, he has to have something which is not stymied by whatever action you take. So going underwater is one option. And he doesn't have to go underwater and go to third country. He puts it in Gwadar along with Chinese systems. Then what?
Right. Right.
And of course, past me. If say 5 years now, 10 years from hen, no, 10 years hence, if Pasni comes up at an American base, then he is giving himself an auto insurance. Please understand this.
How will the United States react, sir, if Pakistan tests a nuclear weapon? Will it impose sanctions on it? Will it put it out in the doghouse? Or how will they react to this?
Look, that's for Pakistan, USA to decide what it wants to do with Pakistan. If I were in USA, I'll be the most concerned. Now, you see ex-CIA people talking of the fact that, at that time, Musharraf was most concerned about his own weapon systems, nukes.
Safety of Pakistan's nuclear weapons.
Yeah, Pakistan. And then he went and asked US guys to come and guard them. There must be some truth in this.
Right.
And there's also some news which came out during Op Sindoor that no, it is actually the American system which we destroyed in Nurkan base and all that. That's why the Americans are cutty with us. All this has come. There must be some truth in this, no? There can't be smoke without fire. So in which case are we looking at something, where the Americans have to now take a call? If Pakistan tests, what should it do? The threat is, look, what happens to India be okay? What happens to Pakistan? What happens to USA? What happens to US interests in that region? Look, and Pakistan is emboldened today. In this kind of instability which is going to come because of testing, Saudi Arabia will give its left arm to Pakistan and fund it and say, give me a weapon. I mean, this KSA pact is something which we have to look beyond KSA pact,
right,
beyond normal thinking. I mean, look at it. Saudi Arabia with MBS there, he wants independence. The best, if you have read the psychology of Mohammed bin Salman, fundamentally he will say, I'm not interested in being under China or USA. I want my own weapon.
Right.
Who better than Pakistan to give him a weapon? And they can talk.
But there is an arrangement, Jan Shankar, that from the 80s, it's believed to have been that Pakistan has been funded by the Saudi Arabians, and with the understanding that they have something like 4 to 6 weapons kept aside for the Saudis if they should ever need it.
Yep.
So it's a very interesting arrangement which they've kind of
So your nuclear triangle has gone into a nuclear septagon. With USA also come in. So we are heading into dangerous times. Okay, it's for USA to decide. I thought but then Trump has upended it by taking Asim Munir into his lap. Well,
right.
Let me put it in another way. Is that a good thing to happen? Probably. Will that check Pakistan? Is USA putting a handle into Pakistan more deeply to hold it so that Pakistan is not a runaway nuclear boat?
Keep your friends closer and your enemies. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Closer. And I look. Some time back, I did mention in a couple of my podcasts, I don't mind USA putting its foot in Pakistan because you can't do it. If the Chinese are there, China and Pakistan is a lethal combination for us. Right. We saw that in Op Sindoor.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how do you control them? The only way to control them is Pakistan becomes a battleground. And if, USA gets into this thing, then things will start having better, things will work out. And then Pakistan doesn't go completely rogue. And then there's also this thing that tomorrow Pakistan might just decay into, and it's itself fissile.
Right.
Pakistan is a fissile material on its own, nuclear or non-nuclear.
Right.
So
But
if it
geographically, Jan Shankar, a quick question is that Pakistan doesn't have the geographical depth. Where are they going to store so many nuclear weapons? I mean, these hundreds, and they haven't stopped manufacturing weapons for the last 20 years.
they'll
Sooner or
find
later, run out of place to store them.
look, I'm sure that they can manage. If you ask me, I'll be able to manage. As a military man, I'll manage.
You can
It's not
store them safely with all the
yeah, you
safeguards.
can store them. That's actually that, and grant Pakistan, they are innovative. They are not fools. And they're lethal. And they are more adventurous. They're definitely more adventurous than, our politicians or our military people. I mean, that's something which we have to understand and not wish it away. So they will be inventive on this, and we have to outthink them.
Right.
Are we doing that? And you need more debate. Look, Sandeep, I don't see more than 2 or 3 channels who have discussed this topic.
Right.
Only 3 or 4 people have discussed this topic. I mean, I give you credence that you are one of the first people who are talking of this. In fact, you are the second channel I'm talking to.
Right.
Okay. But it needs wider thinking. People are not understood. Okay, Arun Sehgal spoke of it with Nitin Gokhale's Gokhale's channel, your old friend, right? And where else? I pitched it to a few national channels, but they're more interested in excise Trishul, all this,
Right.
a lot of flashy stuff.
You're saying that the scenario of Pakistan testing is something that we should prepare for. Now to one more question, Jan Shankar, and you were one of the first people to put that whole paralysis of Operation Sindoor, the 10th of May, what we did to paralyze Pakistan's dyad. A dyad being Pakistan's nuclear weapons are operate on a dyad. They have air-launched weapons and they have TELs, transport-to-erector launchers. Now on the 10th of May, when we struck at all their weapon sites and their airfields and all that, both of these were paralyzed. They claim to have a sea leg of their deterrent, but we have no evidence of that so far. But who knows, with the Babar being fitted on the Hangor class submarines, that could actually well happen. But General Shankar, does this point to a counter-strike option for India, where we strike in a few hours, paralyze all of Pakistan's airfields, delivery mechanisms and all that, thereby paralyzing their ability to launch, forget a nuclear weapon attack, but any kind of strike at India?
Look, the way I look at it, that's an extreme option. That's an extreme option. See, as of let's take it bit by bit. What's today's capability in Pakistan? It's degraded. It remains degraded. Okay, they don't. After all, there's no news of Pakistan's capability reviving itself in terms of their aircraft. Now it's coming out they've lost 19 aircraft.
Right.
Okay. And a lot of C3I equipment and communications and also
radars and yes,
they're not replaced. So they're talking big. That's a different story, and they have got a lot of other problems. So they have not recovered. Then their economy is not going to allow them to recover that easily. So they have not recovered. So it gives you a bit of a window to think. Okay, but they will. It's a matter of time, right? So you have to weigh how you're going to handle Pakistan against the Pakistan which wants to nuclearize and become more nuclear, capable. And the Pakistan army, the way it thinks, it will say, okay, this is what happened now in Sindoor. This is what I'll ensure I don't get hit that way. This is what their thinking will be. On the other hand, you know their own internal problems, and if you and mind you, their internal problems, economy and all, are now being debated in China also. Please understand
Right.
that. Today morning, I read a in-depth article about it, which where China is worried about it. I'll be very honest. We have to understand. We can discuss this. So they're worried about it. So as Pakistan decays, and is there a chance of these going into the wrong hands, or the shark attack,
Hmm.
or the lone wolf attack? Is it instigated by anyone, or what? These are the scenarios we have to think of. How do you handle this? What shall I say? Opposite movements.
Right. The
So
loose
if
new.
some
Yeah.
opposite movements, one a decaying Pakistan and a Pakistan which is increasingly nuclear. So this is something which we have to really, really war game our way out. And then you see how you handle Pakistan. Is it by positing a conventional threat to elicit a non-conventional response, or is it to posit a political threat which he can't respond? It actually today, whatever is happening reinforces my original thought which I gave even before Op Sindhu and everything. What you need to do with Pakistan is more political in nature than military in nature. And this is something which our people don't seem to understand. And
When
I
you say
agree.
political, then Shankar, what do you mean by political? You mean
Okay. See, the thing is that every war Pakistan has lost, it has become Pakistan army has lost, it has become politically more relevant in Pakistan and become stronger. Okay, today Pakistan army is fully entrenched. There's no
yes?
question of democracy and all that. So you have to defeat this army which can't be defeated. That's the paradigm you are in. It can't be defeated militarily. If it's militarily defeated, then politically it becomes stronger. So how do you defeat this? So you have to defeat it politically. How do you defeat it politically? We have this example. What did you do? What happened when you abrogated Article 370? When you abrogated Article 370, what could the Pakistan army do? Nothing. Whether you like it or not, even if taking Pahalgam into account, the violence in Kashmir before Article 370 abrogation and after is a marked change. And you kept Pakistan army on the sidelines. They've had to take tremendous risks to reinvigorate the thing in J&K. It is a political defeat. That
Yeah.
is given you so many dividends. You had elections,
Right.
central elections, and state elections, and all that. You have going back to normalcy. So many things have happened, right?
So, hypothetically, give us an idea of what a political move would be in 2025.
Actually,
29.
you are operationalizing it already. Only thing is you're not giving it that flip which you need to give. IWT. Today,
Right.
the Achilles heel of Pakistan is agriculture and water.
Yes.
Day before yesterday, there was a huge article in Dawn which explained where the agriculture is going. They're talking of 7 lean years. 7 lean years is equivalent to a famine. This is about a dream of a king who said, I saw 7 lean years. So that's a famine. That's a article. And in fact, today morning, I put a video out on that 7 lean years in Pakistan.
Right.
Agriculture is their Achilles heel, water is their Achilles heel, and you have to hit that. KPK and Afghanistan and Balochistan, Achilles heel. So if you concentrate on these politically, POK itself is an Achilles heel.
Right.
You outreach to POK, outreach to Gilgit-Baltistan, political, you'll get there. See, the problem with our system, and here I'll point my fingers at our entire polity. Our politicians want military results, and our military people want political results. This is the dichotomy of our thought.
Right. How
I'm
interesting.
a military guy. I want a political solution.
Right.
The political solution is the better geopolitical solution. Whereas our people say, oh, we'll cut them into two and Op Sindoor is on the cards and all that. Op Sindoor 2 is on the cards. Why do you want to shoot your mouth off? You have to take the ground out under his feet. And all this has to be factored in the nuclear dimension we're talking of.
Right. So very interesting. So the politicians want military solutions and the military wants political solutions. And you're a military man yourself, Jan Shankar, and you're pushing for a political solution on this one.
Yeah.
A political option.
Yeah. Why? I go back to what Mao said. Mao said, war is politics with bloodshed. And politics is war without bloodshed.
Right.
I'm going back to Mao. I'm going back to the communist way of thinking. So I would like to do war without bloodshed.
Right.
And that's politics. Right? And that's the flip of what, we keep talking of Clausewitz. War is politics by other means. And politics is war by other means. Right?
Right. So apart from the IWT, what are the other options that we have?
Yeah, POK. Have an outreach into POK. Look, he's already got problems in Afghanistan. He's already got problems in, Balochistan, without your doing much about it.
Right.
So have an outreach into POK politically. Give them some goodies. You start a political outreach. You have a thing, twinning. We started a twinning between Shanghai and Chennai.
Right.
So why don't you start between Muzaffarabad and Srinagar, twinning?
But they anyway have seats in the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly. There are certain seats.
But you not operationalize it. No, make guys.
You haven't. Exactly.
Elect guys. There are enough people from that area who are living abroad.
Right.
Select them, nominate them into your parliament or Vidhan Sabha, whatever, state legislature.
Right.
And tell them to come and attend and make noises. Let villages this side talk of villages that side. There are many things you can do.
We've not done any of this so far, you're saying.
Yeah. So when you do these things, then you increase the political space in POK. And that's when, and POK is in a bad shape in any case. In the past 3 years, you see the number of problems POK people have brought forth, which are far more than what it was earlier. Right? So then that's where you have to push Pakistan into. They have Pakistan can't retort for that, no?
Right.
And then, of course, Afghanistan, which we're already playing. This entire thing of, supporting Afghanistan is part of that story. Everyone recognizes it. So you have already operationalized it to some extent. You have to probably calibrate it to a better level and complement it with your nuclear story, which we are discussing.
Absolutely. So you're saying political weapons to back political outreach, political strategy.
See,
rather than just kinetic or military option.
Kinetic, look at it. We started with, nuclear arms race.
Right.
The connectivity we have come down to politically.
Yes. But they're so connected. I mean, Jan Shankar, like I said, the nuclear weapons are nothing but political weapons. And they reflect the anxieties and insecurities of the political class and the leaders of the world. And there is, of course, that other side subset of what we were discussing, but that is actually demands a separate discussion on why South Korea, Japan, and of course Australia, they want nuclear-powered attack submarines. That is actually a subset of what we are going through here, this instability-stability paradox. And it has to do with the rise of China, but I think that we should do as a separate discussion because
we'll do that.
Discussion, on its own. But if you're okay now, Jan Shankar, should we take questions? There are a lot of.
Please. We must.
What a fascinating discussion once again. We are looking at, a new post-Cold War world. What are the questions that we have? MV Kiran has something about the re-emergence of conventional warfare is apparent. Yes, that's a fact. shows that even without nukes, tactical or otherwise, wars can rage on very actively and aggressively. Yeah, but Ukraine is not nuclear armed. So, Kiran, that I think that's my view. General Shankar will have, of course.
No, I completely agree with you. Look, the space for conventional war between nuclear states is decreasing. And let me explain this, because this everyone needs to understand. In one end of war, the lower end of the spectrum of war between two nuclear states was what
Yeah.
happened between India and China in 2020, where
Right.
we didn't even fire a bullet.
Yes.
Okay. The upper end of that spectrum is Kargil,
Right.
where we fought for 1 month despite being nuclear states, but we were new nuclear states at that point of time. And somewhere short of that is Op Sindur.
Yeah.
So this spectrum is there, and this spectrum is after that getting narrower and narrower, right? So and one important part of the spectrum is there's no definite end. The political outcomes are still hazy, right? Out of this, so we are in a difficult situation. War can happen, but if there's no political outcome, and if the window for non-nuclear war is small, sooner or later you will jump out of this window.
Right. Absolutely. Another question here. Akshay is asked about the Davy Crockett. In the 1960s, the US tested a handheld nuclear device called Davy Crockett. Why old techs are making a comeback? Interesting
Yeah,
question.
look, at that time, US had the best technology. They might be going back. They might get an Davy Crockett Mark II, which is even
Right.
better,
Yeah.
right? And that's where I get back. I said PTBT. So
Right.
should the world get into a PTBT, partial test ban, and say, okay, you can test only up to this? That's right.
Right.
Partial test ban treaty is going to be important, which should be
PTBT.
right.
Yes.
Yeah,
So test, but with guardrails. And
guardrails.
Davy Crockett is interesting. It's the smallest battlefield nuclear weapon ever deployed. It was actually deployed, but they withdrew it very quickly
Yeah,
because they discovered how unstable it was. That you give commanders in the field, you give a weapon like that, and it becomes a artillery weapon. Literally, it's a rocket. I think it was a recoilless rifle. It was a recoilless rifle firing a rocket. This is Mr. Alligator. Uh, does India have the technology and facility to test a neutron device?
well, I'll not comment on it. Because I don't know, to be very honest.
Right.
But my guess is we have.
Okay. So it must be said about India's nuclear weapons program that every other nuclear weapon program of the other eight nuclear weapon states are very well discussed. But about the Indian nuclear weapons program, little is known. It's never discussed in public, and for good reason. There's one here which Sandhu's asking about. Pakistan has no nuclear weapons. It is America's nuclear weapons. We discussed that in the.
Yeah, we discussed this, and that's wishful thinking on our part.
Yes. So this new round of nuclear testing would be on sub-kiloton warhead testing, as in drone, UCAV, deliverable munitions. Interesting
Possible.
question.
Highly possible. That's the bigger problem.
Right.
The proliferation on the battlefield through drones and UCAVs is the bigger problem.
Yes.
There's a new delivery system which might come into play.
So you're looking at Davy Crockett-sized weapons being mounted on UCAVs. So that is where the whole thing is. The paradigm is very dangerous. When China says Australia is buying nuclear subs under AUKUS violates NPT, then argued that nuclear subs only have nuclear propulsion, not nuclear weapons. Can the same argument be made for Burevestnik?
No, it can't. It can't. It can't. The difference is that when you fire a cruise missile with a particular, that's what I said in the beginning, with a particular capability, and that capability is not expended when it hits the target. it still has fissile material, and that's not retrievable.
Right.
It has to go and hit the target. Wherever it hits the target, that it's a nuclear warhead going. That's
Right.
the problem with this, you know, cruise missile which Pakistan, I mean, which Russia has tested.
Burevestnik. I
Yeah.
actually should call it the NATO. Give it the NATO name. It's called Skyfall by NATO. It sounds
Skyfall. Yeah, that's a nice
like
one.
a Bond movie. You know?
Uh,
It's but you know, as you said, Shankar, it is actually it's a nuclear armed. Well, it uses a nuclear engine. It's a cruise missile with a nuclear engine. It carries nuclear elements in it, and therefore it could, in some manner, be construed as a kind of a nuclear weapon. But the other one that Putin has just announced a test of last month, the Canyon, the Status 6, Poseidon, that's a completely different class of weapons, and it is possibly a fourth leg of a nuclear deterrent thing. You have the triad, and this is possibly the quad of the nuclear weapons because it travels underwater. Then this one says, okay, a lot of comments here. Um, Given how things are, could we also reconsider and redefine the red lines? Russia and US are signaling nuclear actions to test the waters.
yeah, I
Are red
completely.
lines?
We have to. We have no choice. You not only have to reconsider and redefine our red lines, we have to also reconsider and redefine others' red lines
Right,
and how much you can, stretch them.
right,
This whole paradigm is changing. That's the point.
right.
Yeah. Oh, thanks a lot for this contribution, Dr. Bones Ortho. Yeah.
Dr. Bones Ortho. A thought provocateur: could there be an AI-enabled nuclear-powered nuclear delivery system deployed for mutually assured destruction?
Of course.
I'm sure there already is one.
Yeah, there is already. I am not doubt.
It's called the dead hand, right? I mean, that's meant to launch a weapon if there is the people are taken out or something like that. Balaji Prasanna asked that India would have achieved nuclear deterrence long back if Dr. Homi Bhabha was alive and need not have fought the war in 1962, but for the US, which was critical of. This is one of those what ifs of Indian history. Is Pakistan a nuclear weapons bank locker?
That's a nice one.
View about nuclears stored, they're buried into their bills with multiple entry exit points. Chagai, Kirana, such hills are over the plain. Okay, that's a view, right? We are talking about special weapons storage sites. There's a question from Akash Thadani. USA is the only country to have used both the little boy and fat man. It may be aspirational for half-witted nations to join the users club. Users, well, but that's a completely different paradigm.
Ball game altogether.
If you use it, then you lose it, as they say. AI controlling. These are all comments. Looking at US is a ultimate superpower, real Vishwaguru. We need to do better to do one.
That's okay.
How about India signing an FTA with Balochistan? Well,
that's a political thing, no?
Political, yeah, exactly. Do you recognize the breakaway, province of Balochistan? Ashok Vardhan is asking is politics war without bloodshed, communist thought, or rehashing of the age-old Joan of Arc quote, all battles are won first or lost in the mind? Yeah,
this
possibly.
is one. It's not. Look, Mao just gave a thought. I'm saying it's a communist thought. It doesn't matter whether it's a communist thought or a non-communist thought. It's a truism.
Right.
If you see Jean d'Arc, or for that matter Mao, or for that matter Clausewitz or anyone, it's the same thing.
Right.
Or for that matter, what Chanakya said, that you don't have to kill a guy by just actually strangling him. You just kill him by other means.
Yes.
So
War by other means.
Yeah, war by other
Uh,
means.
this we just answered.
We saw that.
Burevestnik is not the same as a conventional weapon. It's something else. Defeat Pakistan politically. Does Trump's nuke test call stem from the fact that the US realizes it cannot win a conventional war?
I
Well,
don't
not
think so. I don't think so. I mean, again, this is fallacy being spread. This is, the narratives being spread that US can't win a conventional war.
right.
I mean, I think we are misreading the whole story. Let me put this in perspective. What has happened in the Middle East now? From Mediterranean to our Indian borders, and to some extent past the Indian borders, even in India, US controls the region
Yes.
completely. How is it done? To think that US can't fight is idiocy.
Right.
Okay? If US can't fight today, who will fight? Remember,
Exactly.
just think. I mean, people have not understood this. Russia is caught in a trap. It is
A
stuck.
quagmire. Yes. In Ukraine.
It's stuck for 4 years in Ukraine. China is not stepping out of its shores. This is the history of China. They might have 3 carriers which go up and down the coast. That's it. They don't roam. You saw what happened in the Middle East. The Chinese just sat down.
Right.
Militarily, it was the US. They used Israel. That's a different story. Today, the entire West Asia, they have hammered into submission.
Right.
And whether you like it or not, that operation of USA P-52s coming and dropping those down in Iran was a complicated operation.
And it's a signal to China and Russia.
Russia, you don't have that capability. I have this capability. And
Right.
to do that, if you remember, they moved aircraft carriers, they operated,
Submarines. Yeah.
submarines. Not only that, they activated Diego Garcia.
Yes.
All that they did, and they hit from that side.
Right.
So to think that USA does not have the capability is sheer idiocy.
Right. And absolutely. And we're going to see it, General Shankar, in real time now in the next couple of days at Venezuela. You know that phrase, kill the chicken to scare the monkeys?
Yeah.
Venezuela is unfortunately going to be that chicken.
And if you think that, if you go to the Chinese thinking sites or non-thinking sites, they are portraying as if they won the whole story against USA. USA has spoken to them in one time and shooting at the others.
Right.
Like you said, scare the bloody chicken by, or scare the monkey.
Scare the monkeys by killing the chicken.
He's doing it.
Yeah. It's, and of course, this question, if US starts testing, will government resume testing again? Government of India.
Course.
Yeah.
Already our defense minister has said we'll take appropriate action based on the outcomes elsewhere. So that's on the cards.
And also, you believe that, you saw the MEA statement yesterday about President Trump's thing on Pakistan testing and how the MEA said that Pakistan is an irresponsible country. You think that that has opened the window for India testing weapons?
Of course. Yeah, completely.
Can Pakistan handle a BrahMos swarm?
Pakistan can't handle even one BrahMos. Forget about a swarm.
Yes, true. But I must put it on record that Pakistan has excellent radar capabilities to track the entire trajectory of the BrahMos coming and hitting all their targets. That capability they retain. So they have excellent post-damage assessment, and they have all the footage of the BrahMos striking their targets and all that. And the BrahMos is usually intercepted in Pakistan by air bases, by radars, by aircraft.
And their PSDA is very good. They'll always cover it up.
Yes. They have the tarpaulins are they're very good. They're swift, and ultimate weapon in this space would be a nuclear-powered UCAV with a nuclear weapon. Dreadful. That is essentially what weapons like the Poseidon and the Burevestnik or the Skyfall are. These are exactly these kind of weapons. They are like drones with nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Do we have cruise missiles powered by nuclear material now? How is that possible? Is there
No,
a
we don't
control?
know.
We don't have it, but the Russians have it, sir.
That's what
And
they're doing.
yeah, and very interesting, the Russians have based it on an American technology that was tested but abandoned in the 1960s. It's called Project Pluto. You can Google that. There's a Project Pluto which they've Americans tried in the 60s, but they abandoned it. What are USA, China intentions with Pakistan, sir?
I think we've discussed this in great detail.
Out of syllabus question, if we have enough budget and well-oiled theatre command weapons, does that mean we are well equipped to fight a multi-front war, especially with so many NOTAMs?
See, everyone talks of theatre commands meant for fighting.
Right.
Theatre commands are not meant for fighting. I mean, of course, they're meant for carrying out this thing. But theatre commands are more for post-projection, outward thinking.
Right.
The theatre commander needs to think, say the Western theatre command has to think not only of Pakistan, but Iran, Afghanistan, beyond into Middle East. He has greater, focus, right? And then it's a geopolitical thing. It's a political tool. Theatre command is not a military tool.
Right.
We've just seen how theatre commands have to operate in a nuclear environment. The whole story changes. Okay, your threat assessment, your geopolitical assessment, your nuclear capability, everything. Theatre command, that's why I said in the beginning, I don't agree with what the army chief posits.
Right.
Sorry, this is
Air Force
beyond
chief.
me.
What
Yeah,
the Air Force chief?
Yeah, Air Force chief.
Right.
Posits. He's looking at it from he's a damn good guy, but that's his window of sight is very narrow. And our theatre commands have to be far beyond this.
No, Jan Shankar, that is a separate discussion. We should probably do it next. The next
we'll
discussion should be on the theatre commands. There's a lot of chatter around it. There are a lot of people for and, of course, against it. We should discuss this more.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Maybe the next discussion we could have on that. So thank you for that idea, Tamil Hindu. Last question, I think we'll take it. B.S. Shastra, would NATO designation Skyfall be a dirty bomb? It is, well. It would be a dirty bomb because it would result in contamination, nuclear contamination on the target area. And yeah, that's it, sir. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on this Saturday morning, of course, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. And do tune in next Saturday. We'll be back with another interesting round of conversation with General Shankar. And I show you the kind of views, this comments, and the the farsightedness that you get on our discussions. You're not likely to see anywhere else. So with that in mind, do continue to like, share, and subscribe Gunner's Shot and Chakra News. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, have a great weekend and enjoy yourselves.
Thank you.